this is interesting now, isn't it? The very first review of Roshi Reviews is something that no one has probably ever heard of. Unless you've played Steam and probably have heard of Armor Krog, then maybe the chances have increased, but probably not. It's still very underrated. This is the Neverhood, developed by Pencil Test Studios in some year, can't really remember. It was a long time ago, that's what I do know. Anyway, so it's a game made out of clay. Oh my gosh, it's just amazing! Let's jump right into the story, shall we? So you play as Clayman, and as soon as you start, you have no idea what you're doing. Eventually, you find out the plot, but I'll kind of explain that later. It's really interesting because you start the game and you have no idea what you're doing. No tutorial, no explanatory video or nothing. You just drop right into the game right after the intro sequence. Interesting. And it sounds like it's basically a plot that's never been done before. Instead of you having to rescue princesses or go on some kind of epic journey, you just need to find out who the heck you are and how you got there. Now let's talk about how this game looks, shall we? Now if you haven't noticed already, for whatever reason, the game is made out of complete clay. Yes, you heard me correctly. The game is made out of clay. This is... oh my gosh, it's just so amazing! I mean, it's a game made out of clay. It's like they made a video game for like The Nightmare Before Christmas, except not making an animation video game. It's like a clay video game. The entire game is a stop-motion thing! Ah! They really take everything into consideration. I mean, just look at it. I mean, even the little things are just awesome. They animated it so smooth too. I mean, for its day, it's really, really good. When it comes to like the apple tree or the weasel chase or anything, it just looks amazing. Like take Yoshi's Woolly World for example. The entire game is made out of wool because whatever reason, it just looks amazing. They take everything into consideration, from Yoshi being able to eat yarn and stuff. That's what they do with the Neverhood. They take the fact that the game is made out of clay and they use it to their advantage. Onto the gameplay. Now, like very few games nowadays, they're point-and-click adventures, meaning that you would have to walk around and click on stuff, and most of the time having to solve puzzles. Which, I'm okay with the concept. I mean, most of the time the puzzles can get very tedious, but it's still pretty good, I'd say. Sometimes you shift from it being a 2D walk-around point thing, and for it being a first person. It depends on where you are, and yeah. Sometimes you would have to jump on these little cart thingies and you would have to like ride along them to find more clues about stuff. Usually when this happens, it can be kind of tedious to control it. I mean, it's freaking difficult. Small side note about the puzzles though, usually whenever you encounter something that makes absolutely no sense, I wouldn't ignore it if I were you. Instead, I would take advantage of it, probably write it down or something. That's what kind of game this is. Because you would usually have to come back to these puzzles because they would probably be used later, apparently. Like that cannon that's used to drain the lake, believe it or not, that's used in the last section of the game. Most of the time, these puzzles can get very, very, very difficult and frustrating. Honestly, it really is annoying. Ugh. Usually when it comes to some of these puzzles, especially later in the game, you usually be stuck on them for a very, very long time. Up to, I don't know, 2 hours? Not kidding. Throughout your Neverhood exploration, you can find discs, and wherever you find these discs, you can usually come up to these little movie things in which you can place the discs in. These movie things are the hidden story behind the Neverhood that reveals the true plot. The true plot, which Mr. Willie Trombone decides to tell you, the true plot is there once was a man named Hoborg who created everything in the Neverhood because, as the game quotes, he had to. This is the best plot ever, as you can possibly tell. Once he created the Neverhood, he got bored of it, and he wanted a friend to enjoy it with him. Oh, poor guy. So he made Clog. Clog was jealous because plot, and he wanted to steal Hoborg's crown. Hoborg told him that he cannot have his crown. He can have everything else, though. Okay, that's a pretty good deal, I'd say. I mean, jeez. As Hoborg sits in his throne room, he thinks to himself of who he should make next. While he's doing this, Clog steals his crown and then becomes the ruler of the Neverhood. Once he puts the crown on, Hoborg freezes in place and cannot move because he's basically a statue. Clog continues his reign as one of the little growth beans that makes people, for whatever reason, hops out of Hoborg's hand, and Willy finds it. Don't ask me why Willy is there, he's just there because plot. Willy is afraid to face Clog alone, so he creates Clayman to go out and save him. Yeah. Collecting these discs can vary from, well, that was easy, to the point of, where is that last one? Jeez! It gets very annoying at some points, especially when you walk down the hallway that takes 10 years to get down, only for you to find a disc at the end. It's not really worth the reward since the only way of transportation besides the little teleport things is walking. Ugh. Whenever you encounter something or something interesting happens, most of the time a cutscene will play. These cutscenes are another example of how this game really takes the Clay perspective, especially the Weasel Chase and the Battle of Robot Bill. It's just so awesome. It looks like an actual animated Clay movie. It's great. I tell you, this game is a nice little charm, even when you expect little things, such as like the little apple tree, and you get to experience 3 different kinds of burps, or looking up at one area, Willy throws a pot on you for some reason. Why? I don't know, it just happens. They're just little touches that they like to throw in there. This game is hilarious, by the way. On a side note, I should probably talk about the music. The music in this game is very interesting, might I say. Because the music is kind of consisted of bums and does and do's. It's weird, but in a good way. It's hilarious, like I said earlier. The game is just too funny, even for the music, for crying out loud. If someone came up to me and said that they wanted a good game, I would probably recommend Neverhood. This game is great. I mean, especially if you're a fan of puzzle games, at least. Because, I mean, this game does get tedious with its puzzles, but in a good way. This game is hilarious. And, what else? Oh, another thing I should probably add on, this game is really hard to find. I mean, it's exclusive to PC, sure, but usually finding copies of this game is really rare. I mean, honestly, it's a PC game and only a PC game, unlike its 2 sequels, which one is exclusive to the PlayStation for whatever reason, at least I'm pretty sure it is. And then there's Armorkrog, which is basically the exact same game, except it's also exclusive to the PC, probably. It's weird. On the other hand, Armorkrog is a sequel that came out this year, and I've never actually played it yet. I might review it one day, who knows, but that is for another review, if I actually review it, like I just said. Overall, I highly recommend this game. It's hilarious, it's puzzling, of course, and it's got a nice adventure feel to it. It's also made out of freaking clay, for crying out loud. Oh yeah, before I go, just one more little side note. Don't fall down the drain until you save first!